Hello everyone. In this video, what we're going to do is take our death and respawn and add a HUD. And in this HUD, or heads up display, we're going to just give it a counter and tell you how many lives you have left. Alright, so one of the biggest things that you guys have to remember is you have to visually let the user know what's happening in your game. So I'm taking our existing death respawn. So we have a character, when it falls, it's gonna die in terms of it just getting respawned up here. So in our event sheet, we only really have this one piece of code. So a lot of the stuff we're doing for this is going to be on the event sheet side. But first, in our layout, let's go ahead and just make our HUD real quick. Okay, so what we're first gonna do is in the layout section, in the bottom right, we're gonna add a new layout. And I'm going to add it on top, and we're going to just call this HUD. And now anything we add, we're going to make sure it goes into the HUD. So we're just going to do text right now. So I'm going to double click, go to text, and I'm going to call this lives text. So what's going to happen here is we're going to click here, and it's just going to be lives. So I'm just going to go ahead and do lives. And we're going to set the size to 16, just something that we could see. So I'm gonna hit play. Let's take a look. Okay, actually we've ran into our first problem. So right now when you fall, lives is up there. So if I jump, you could barely see lives, right? We want the HUD to always be on the screen itself. So in order for us to do that, what we need to do is click on our layer. So in the bottom right, you see where it says HUD. And then what we're going to do is look into the properties section where it says scroll and zoom. And you're going to see where it says parallax. So there's two ways to do this. You could enter 0, 0 here, or you could open this up and we're just going to say we want it to be 0, 0. And what this does here is change the rate at which the layer scrolls in each direction. Okay? So what we're going to do is make it where it's not going to scroll at all and so forth. So when we hit play, it will always be with you, right? So see how lives is now stuck with us? So that's like one of the biggest pieces on how HUDs are made, okay? You got to make sure you create its own layout and make the parallax, oops, click on layout, 0, 0, okay? As long as you do that, you're going to be okay with creating your lives and so forth. So now we have lives, but that's all we have. So let's create some sort of numbered system piece there. So we're going to say you have 5 lives. All right. So in our event sheet, in order for us to do this, we're going to right click and add a global variable, and we're going to call it lives. And once you hit lives, you're going to click in here and change it to 5 because that's the starting point. All right, and then let's go ahead and add our event. So anytime we start off a level or your game or whatnot, you want to go to your system and do the on start of layout. And what we're going to do is click on lives text, and we're going to change the value that's in there. All right, so we're just going to go scroll down to set text. And what this allows us to do is change the text to whatever we want it to be once the game starts. All right, so we're going to hit next. And the thing is, it'll be blank at the beginning. So we're going to say lives, and I'm going to do colon space. And outside of it, we are going to do the shift 7 or the ampersand and type in the word lives. And make sure it has the globe around it. Hit enter, and you should be able to hit done. And what that's going to do is set text to lives equals the variable lives. And when we do that, you're going to hit play, and notice how now 5 actually got filled there. Okay, so now we have a way to tell the user, hey, you have 5 lives. Okay, now what we need to do is subtract the lives every time we die. The cool thing is, and I'm going to just reorder this just so we could take a better look at this. I'm going to add a text. Let's see, where would I be able to add a comment? And this is uh, death logic. And I'm just going to move this comment above there just so then it's kind of split up. So when we collide with death, we want to, anytime anything's considered death in my game, I want to lose a life, right? So we have the set position. So in here, we could add after this respawn point or before, depending on what you're trying to do. We're just going to add it below it for the time being. I'm going to hit add action. You can go to system. And inside system, what you're going to do is go to the global and local variables section. And this is where you're going to do subtract from. Hit next. And we're going to subtract 1 from lives. All right. So now that we've done that, let's take a look at what happens. So we hit play. We're going to go here. I'm going to try to die. Okay. All right. Well, I died, but I forgot to change the text value itself. So what I need to do is go back in here and do that. Nice. It's nice that we already have the code. I'm just going to go up here, copy, paste it, drag it underneath. All right. And when you do that, you could hit play. And now when I die, hey, it went to 4, right? So now you have something that visually informs the game player that, hey, you just lost a life. Now you can add other effects and things like that if you wanted to, just to kind of make it a little bit easier and so forth for like, you know, to make it feel like, okay, something happened and it's not like so instant, right? So an idea to do that is you could have your respawn point. I'm going to move it to the bottom. And the reason being is I'm going to just add a timer. So I'm going to add in the systems, and I believe it's towards the bottom where there's wait. Wait a number of seconds before running the next action. So let's say I want to wait 2 seconds, right? So maybe you play a sound or something like that, right? So now when I die, it's going to wait a second. You could kind of add extra elements into your game in order for it to feel like, you know, death occurred and so forth. So for example, hey, and now, then you start back up. And that slight delay is some of the things that we are all so used to having in our games, right? So I think that's a very cool and easy way to implement that. So what we did was, add a global variable, and we subtracted 1 from it every time we collided with death. We showed the text of it, waited 2 seconds, and did our respawn. And now what we did was we had our HUD layer have lives, and now it travels with us, and we can have this. Now, what I'm going to do is play through this, and I'm going to show you the thing that we're going to encounter next. All right, so we have 4, and then I probably should have started with like 2 lives instead. It's going to take a second. So we got 2, and then we got 1, right? So what usually happens when you have 1 life, then you have no lives, but this goes to 0, right? And this is going to continue going. So now it's to -1. All right, well, I don't want to have -1 lives, right? So what we have to do is create some type of logic that is going to cover not having 0 or anything like that, okay? So what we're going to do in the next piece is go ahead and go to our layouts here on the right side. We're going to right click and add the layout itself. And the layout, we're going to add the event sheet. And right now I'm just going to call this game over. I don't really care what's here right now, but your game over, try again screen, whatever you want could be that. So now we're going to go back here, go to our event sheet 1. And we're just going to do a condition check. Anytime lives is set to 0, we're going to kick you out, all right? Or we're not going to like kick you out, but it's more we are going to not respawn anymore, okay? So we can do it inside this death logic. So what we could do is if you right-click add, we're just going to add a blank sub-event, and it'll go down here. Because what we're going to do is on the condition part, what we're going to do is just do a system, and we're going to compare 2 values. And these two values that we're going to compare is the global variable. Well, actually, hold on. Can we just pick the global variable here? Let's see. Oh yeah, we could. Let's just do that one instead. Sorry. So we're going to hit compare variable, and we're just going to see if lives is equal to 0. I hit done. Then we are going to go to game over. So on the right side, we're going to add the action. And, oops. Where is that? Go to layout. There it is. We're going to go to game over. However, this logic is slightly flawed. It's going to subtract 1, show lives, wait 2 seconds, respawn, and then check to see if it's game over. Not ideal. So what we want to do is do a check to see if lives equals 0. And then we're going to do an else statement. So consider this your if statement. And with an if, you could do, if it's not this, then I want something else to happen and so forth, right? So if lives equals 0, go to game over. Else, wait 2 seconds, respawn. And that's what we're going to do. So you're going to click right click here. And what you're going to be able to do is, let's see, add another condition. Oh, wait, hold on. Why did that? Oh, you have to click the whole thing, right click, and we don't want an or. Oh, add, and you will see else. So add the else there, and then all we do is move this down here. So now we have it where, okay, on death, regardless of what happens with death, I always want to subtract 1 from lives and set the lives. And then I'm going to do a check to see if it equals 0. If it does, go to game over. Else, I'm going to wait 2 seconds and then go to the respawn point. So now you can kind of see how this logic is starting to get built up, where you're able to control how your game progresses or how you actually tell the player, hey, you've run out of lives. All right, so you hit play. Actually, I'm going to go back here. I'm going to change this to 1, just so I'm not dying so many times. And we can go here, and once I die, it's going to go to game over. However, it went right away. So we may want to add the 2 seconds for game over as well, just to be consistent if you wanted to, right? That way then it's like, okay, then it goes to game over. So let's try this again. I'm going to go here, and it's going to go 0, and then it will go to game over layout. So now you have that going. I'm going to change this to 2 lives so we could test that it actually works when you lose 1 life. It did 1, and then, hey, it respawned. Okay? So this is where you get to kind of play around with some of this stuff. All right? So in this video, we kind of covered just how to do the layout piece, as well as how to make it where it doesn't go into negative or 0 lives, right? So have the HUD, we got the lives up here, and what we did was in our event sheet, we have our if statement here and our else statement. And we just moved around our logic a little bit, but now we are starting to form our death logic that you can use pretty much in every level you want. So anything that triggers death, you could just call this and you could work with it. Now there is one last piece that you need to be aware of. If you in game over decide to replay the level or something like that, let's say you had to try again or something, okay? So I'm gonna go to, let's do this as text, and I'm just gonna call this try again text. And I'm just gonna put this in the middle here, try again. All right, and we're gonna double click since I'm actually gonna use my touch event. So I'm gonna add the touch event, and let's go to event sheet 2. And all I'm gonna do is say if I touch an object, so let's see, on, is it touching object or touched object? Let's go with touched object. Then what we're going to do is next and click and try again text. Okay, and in the add action we're going to go to system, and what we're going to do is look through our system section and go to layout is what we're looking for. Go there, and we want to go back to layout 1. So now we have that. So I'm going to go back to layout 1 and go to event sheet 1, change this to 1 life. And now I'm going to, 1 life, hit play. And now I'm going to go here. It's going to go to here where I have try again. And if I click on try again, I go back here. Now you're like, hey, it worked. Check out how many lives I have. I now have 0 lives. So if I go here, I'm to negative. So what happened here? And this is what is very important. So I'm going to rerun this, but in debug layout. All right. So I'm going to keep track of where is my global variables right here. This whole section. Can I highlight this? It's not letting me highlight it, but it's right here where my mouse is, and lives is 1. All right. So I'm going to play the game. I'm going to go here, and I died. Lives is 0. And here's try again. I click back. Lives is 0. All right. So what we need to do is reset our lives in order for us to play the game the way it's meant to play. So there are a couple ways you can prevent this from accidentally happening. You could always change this condition here on the lives. So you could say if it's greater than, as long as it's not equal to or less than, let's see, where is this? Less than or equal to 0. Wait 2 seconds. So now if I went here and I died, I'll have 0, go to game over, try again. And when I go down here, it'll actually just do game over again, which doesn't really fix the problem, but at least it triggers it to go back. So I'm going to change this back just to equal for right now. But what we really need to do is in our game over event sheet, before we go to layout 1, we're going to add another action. And this is in the system itself. So we're going to go to system, and then what we're going to do is scroll to the bottom, and you're going to see where you could reset global variables. Now I wouldn't reset all of them. Sometimes you want to carry over stats or anything like that. So we want to just set the value of what we want to reset. So I'm going to set value lives, and lives was back to whatever it was. So in this case, it would be 2. Now, when we do it this way, we have to be very careful that we remember what our original numbers were. And as long as you do that, then you're going to be okay. All right. So we go to layout, and now if I hit play, I can go here and go to lives and make it to 0. And then we could click try again. And now it says 2, which is really nice. So this allows us to keep track of that little bug, as well as make it where now we have a try again that just gives us unlimited tries, which is kind of fun. It's really just depending on if you're going to give that option or not, but it's going to go to try again and so forth. Okay. So just to kind of recap, we did a lot in this video, and the biggest pieces are make sure you make that HUD and make it parallax 0, 0. But in the event sheet, we cleaned this up a bit, right? We subtracted 1 from lives, added it to the text, did a check to see if lives equals 0. If it did, go to game over, else respawn. And then in game over, if we played it again or tried again, we want to reset the lives back to what it was. And then you go to layout 1. So this is how you kind of control that gameplay of what you want to have happen. Okay, so that concludes this video, and we'll see you next time.